Hey guys, I just want to bring up an opportunity for resource investors. If you want to rub elbows with the big wigs and talk to companies directly that are handpicked by Rick Rule, well, you got to be in Boca Raton from July 7th to 11th for the Rick Rule Symposium. The event has become a premier event in the mining space, and they're going to have some pretty big speakers like Robert Friedland, Sean Rusin, and the great Rick Rule. And also, we're going to be there. You can meet the Deep Dive team in person. So if you're interested in rubbing elbow with some of the biggest heavy hitters in junior mining, check out the link below. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm chatting with Jon Bey from Standard Uranium. In this interview, we discuss what's happening in the uranium markets in regards to the Russian uranium ban, and we discuss whether or not the Canadian government should be doing more to support the Canadian uranium industry. We also discuss Standard Uranium and the company's drill program at their flagship Davidson River project, as well as the company's various joint ventures with other uranium companies on their other projects. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. Jon, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, great to be here, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
So one of the first things I like to do whenever we have uranium companies on is just talk about the macro and what's happening in the uranium world. And one of the first big things I like to ask CEOs of uranium companies about is the recent Russian uranium ban that has been signed into law by President Biden. What's your take on how big of an impact that this could have on the uranium markets? Do you think it's already priced in? Or do you think that this could be a whole bunch of new fuel onto the fire?
Yeah, great topic and lots to unpack there. First of all, I was in Washington D.C. at the last few weeks back when that was actually going on. There was an energy transition conference happening there, and a lot of the CEOs of uranium companies were there, and they were all going up. The American ones were going up to the House there and the government, and they were working on getting that bill passed. So it happened right when we were there. So that was pretty exciting. And to hear, Scott Melby from UBC talking about the process and how he really thought it was going to impact things was a good eye opener. And I know, Scott was probably talking with, I know Justin Huhn had a report out the other day talking about it as well from the Uranium Insider. So there's a lot of things to unpack here. So number one, I'll say this is a big deal. Number two, I don't think the market has really factored into how this is going to impact the market. So I think there will be a nice more of a run for the uranium spot market to pick up over the next several months. There's a couple key dates that have been announced just recently. I mean, once President Biden signed it, it's got until August 11th before that actually comes into effect. And there's a thing called, these waivers where these utilities have got the opportunity to try to find uranium domestically before they can, sign off with the Russians. So it's complex. There's a lot of things to unpack there, and people on the internet are really trying to figure out, is this a nothing burger, as some say, or is this really going to have an impact on the market? Now, look, we've been talking about this for some time since Russia invaded Ukraine, and the utilities have had a couple of years now to prepare for this and start to get ready for it. So we shall see. I think most of us in the uranium space, who are the insiders, see this being a big deal. I know the North America and Western world is really starting to prepare for how we can move forward without Russia's uranium and uranium products. So I think this is going to pick up some momentum as we get into the fall. So watch, the next few months over this summer, it'll probably still be a little bit of a slow trickle. But as we get into the fall, I believe this is going to have another nice run for the uranium spot market and long-term market as well, pricing.
So we're talking about uranium and the U.S. government. I think we got to mention that they recently indicated that they've got the U.S. government, that is, that they're going to put $3.4 billion of support towards the uranium industry and specifically the uranium enrichment supply chain. I know you guys are Canadian focused. Do you think that the Canadian government's doing enough to support the uranium industry in Canada?
That's a good question. I mean, I can tell you what we're seeing in the political side over the last couple of years has changed dramatically. We're starting to see not only is the federal government getting behind the importance of clean energy and nuclear power, we're also seeing the provincial leaders get behind it as well. And we saw 4 provinces in Canada, that's Ontario, New Brunswick, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, all announced that they are moving forward with small modular reactors over the next few years. And we'll see those start to come online at the end of this decade. So look, the governments of both provincial and federally are really supporting nuclear. That whole, transition to cleaner energy and away from carbon, that's really getting a heavy push from the federal government and provinces, even energy focused, fuel focused, the petrol focused Alberta is saying, look, we need to do something to help our own province as well. So they're talking about putting small modular reactors right up at their oil sands projects near Fort McMurray, which is a pretty interesting development by the Alberta government.
So let's talk about Standard Uranium. It's the first time we've had you guys on the show. What's the high level overview of the company?
Sure. Thanks for having us on, by the way, and helping us, share our story with a wider audience. So Standard Uranium, we are Canadian junior uranium exploration. So we are the guys on the very front level of going out there and finding the uranium. And all our projects are in the Athabasca Basin. We started the company in 2017, so we're not a brand new entrant. We've been here for a number of years. We started off building our company around our flagship project, our Davidson River, which is in the southwest corner. And we can get into that one a little bit. But since, the last couple of years, we've added on another 10 projects. And as we got into the summer of last year, we transitioned from not only pure exploration, but to project generation as well. So now we're taking our second tier projects and we're getting those advanced by bringing in JV partners to spend money on those projects and move those forward. So it's been an excellent transition for our company. And we've had, 3 drill programs, 2 already, 1 completed, 1 in process, and 1 about to start next month this year. And we're also looking to add on to our own Davidson by drilling that one in the summer of, end of August kind of thing as well. So lots going on for Standard this year.
Okay, so let's get into that. You guys are currently in the process of raising money for exploration at the Davidson River project. What's the plans for exploration? What does it look like?
Okay, so Davidson River is a project we've had, and it's our flagship. We want to go back there and drill it again for the 5th time. So when you say 5 drill programs, you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of drilling, but we've actually just scratching the surface. This is a massive project. We've got over 70 kilometers of structure and conductor length. And most of these drill programs have been, less than 5,000 meters each. So we're going to go back again. We're trying to raise capital right now to launch into, we're drilling it this end of August right through to the end of September. And it'll be once again, somewhere in that 5,000 meter range, trying to get about 10 holes and really test the conductors out and see if we can make that high grade uranium discovery.
Okay, so you guys, just from going through your materials, it sounds like you guys are a bit of a mix between an explorer and a project generator. How do you guys decide which projects you guys want to keep yourselves and which ones you option out?
Good question. So the one we really are in love with is our flagship Davidson River, and the other projects we're moving those along for project generators. So our second tier projects are in our Sundog near Uranium City, and then our East Coast projects are our Atlantic, Canary, and Ascent. All of those deals, like when we made this transition last year, we put 4 projects up and we had 4 deals done within 3 months. And each of those deal terms are very similar. The companies can earn into those projects over a 3-year span by spending money on the ground, making payments in cash and shares, and paying us to operate it. And that's a kind of a unique part to our model, where we actually have got the geological team and we actually run the project, nuts to bolts from start to finish. So a lot of companies look at that model and think, wow, what a great opportunity for a company to come into the Athabasca Basin and have some uranium experienced geologists actually running the show for them.
So something I have to ask is the first time you guys have been on, and also I have to say, ever since CDAR switched over to CDAR Plus, it's made it even more challenging to look at financial statements. So let's talk about your cap table. Obviously, we're in Canada. There's a lot of really bad junior mining deals out there that are deal guys trying to just shove paper down retail's throats. And I'm not saying you guys are doing that by any means. But if I were a retail investor and I like your projects and I go, Jon makes a compelling pitch, but I'm a little nervous that any shares that I buy are just going to end up in the hands of those nasty deal guys, or shareholders that are sort of short-sighted. How could I feel comfort in your cap table that I'm investing alongside good investors and the share structure is positioned in such a way that the share price can appreciate?
Yeah, good question. So let me take you back in time a little bit. When we started the company back in 2017, it was pure exploration, and the model was very simple. We're going to raise money, we're going to drill, raise money, drill, raise money, drill. And that's the sort of the junior exploration model. So I think we went public in May of 2020. I think we had about 35 million shares out at that point, and continued to do capital raise, 1 or 2 raises a year until we got to, the end of this year, and we had 230 million shares out. And the feedback we got was, look, the share structure looks a little messy. Some of our shareholders asked us to clean it up. So this year we consolidated on a 5-to-1 just in the last month, and now we have 46 million shares out. We have some of the original shareholders, including myself, and some of the seed money in there. And in the last, I could say last probably 2 to 3 years, a lot of the shareholders that have come in, they've been traditional flow-through funds, which is basically the money that was available to companies like ours. If you wanted to explore the traditional flow-through funds with the money you can raise. So that's where a large portion of our share structure has been sort of converted to over the last number of years. Now that we've transitioned to the project generator model as well, we now don't have to raise money as much. So we only raise money now for our Davidson River project. The other projects that are getting drilled and advanced are all being funded by our partners. And we have cash flow coming in from shares and operator fees to pay all our G&A going forward. So look, the dilution is going to be much less. We're all invested, and the money that we bring in goes into the ground, which is what a lot of our investors really want to see happen.
So you guys are currently generating cash flow?
We are, yeah.
And
that's unique, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's from the JV projects.
Exactly. So we have, we did the Atlantic deals already happened, and we're doing the Canary deal right now, and we're supposed to start on our Sundog project in July. And how that works is, each of the companies would pay us a combination of like $100,000 to $200,000 in cash up front, plus the same amount in shares, plus they pay us 10% of the operator fee, and each of those programs ranges from $1 million to $2 million in the ground. So you add another $100,000 to $200,000 coming in, and that covers off all our G&A for the year, which is remarkable. And those terms get steeper in year 2 and year 3 should those companies continue on with us. And on top of that, we have 2 other projects that we're advancing to JV stage for next year in 2025 as well.
How do you guys evaluate who you want to work with as a partner? Because just throw you an example. Yesterday, somebody reached out to me and said, hey, I got these uranium projects that are being shopped. And I looked, and there was a news release that those exact projects had been announced to be acquired, at least in an option deal with another publicly traded company. It just made me think yikes. They just announced a deal 3 or 4 months ago, and now this deal's already being shopped again. And I know even some of the large operators, I'm not going to name who, but they've done deals with characters that I wouldn't exactly consider to be people of integrity in the junior markets that probably will never be able to make good on the deals that they signed. How do you evaluate and go and find partners for your projects?
Well, that's a great question. And when we, made the transition, we thought about it for about a year, how we were going to make this a successful transition and why companies are going to want to work with us. The thing that we thought was really unique that we had on our team was we have the geologists who've been working in the Athabasca Basin for, some of them 10 years, some of them, near account almost 20 years. We know all the projects in that region. Our geologists are very uranium specific guys that know the ground, know the projects. So first of all, we wanted to have projects that we really believe have the potential to make significant discoveries. We're not looking deep. We're not looking for, projects that are a kilometer deep. All our projects are either from surface, no further down than 500 meters. So if you do make a discovery, it's going to be economic and can be advanced. We also want to make sure they've got the geological merit. They've got the structures, whether we're looking for, basement hosted stuff or at the unconformity. We want to make sure the project has the merit. And then we want to go find partners that actually we believe can work with us. Now, look, these are 3-year earn-in deals. We can't guarantee that these companies are going to be around for 3 years or to continue with us. But we wanted to make sure, going into year 1, they would have the money up front and they were willing to work with us to make these deals happen. So first deal we did was with a company called Arrow Energy. Now, if you look up who they are, this is a company that was created in the last year, and it's being run by a guy named Galen McNamara, and one of his directors is Garrett Ainsworth. Both of those guys are senior executives that came from NextGen. Garrett was the VP of exploration for many years as they made the Arrow discovery. On top of that, our VP of exploration, Sean Haliker, came to us from NextGen, where he worked closely with Garrett and Galen. And both Garrett and Galen Garrett was a director of Standard and Galen was an advisor when we started the company of Standard. So these are friends of ours. These are guys that we know have got incredible uranium technical experience and they know the markets well, and they're good friends of ours. So we brought the team together to work on our Sundog project near Uranium City, and we brought in a company called Fortune Bay run by Dale Varan. And Dale's also a friend of ours. So look, we consolidated the region around Uranium City. We put it under the umbrella of Aero Energy, and we're going to go up there, and we just finished doing some geophysics, and we're going to be drilling that one starting on Fortune Bay's projects in June, and then drilling our Sundog project in July. So that one, we're very confident with these guys that we're going to move that project forward and work towards a discovery there.
What's the conversation been like with the larger, we'll say institutional type investors, if they even exist in Canada beyond some of the hedge funds that I think are potentially some of the problems in the junior markets? But I have heard that there are some actual large portfolio manager, institutional, like real institutional investor types that are kicking tires on the industry. Have you found conversations sort of picking up steam over the last year with outside investors you're talking to, or has it been sort of stable over the last year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, when we started Standard Uranium, one of the things we wanted to do was really figure out who the niche investors were in this space. Uranium is a tiny market compared to gold or copper or some of the bigger metals out there. So we really wanted to figure out, who are the funds that are going to be investing in this in Canada or globally. Look, and we identified a couple. We identified Mike Alkin from Station Cove out of New York. We identified Guy Keller from Tribeca out of Australia. And we got those fund managers to understand our company and our value proposition and got them invested into the space. Since that time, we've gotten to know a lot of the fund managers in Canada, some of them in the US and Australia as well, and had some of them interested in us. Reality is, look, we're still a sub 20 million market cap company. So we're not quite in the stratosphere of these funds yet, but they know who we are. They know, what our plan is, and we anticipate going back to them in the future. Now, what are we seeing, across the market? We are seeing more generalist funds coming into the space. We're seeing, we work closely with, our friends at Red Cloud Securities out of Toronto, and they know all the funds as well. And they have uranium events, and they introduce us to various funds. So when the day comes that our market cap continues to grow with a discovery, we're going to be well positioned to continue those discussions with those fund managers and get them involved. And yes, the general consensus is uranium is going to be a very strong market for years to come.
So, John, last question for you. If I'm an investor watching or a potential investor and I'm trying to follow the company over 2024, what am I looking out for in terms of timelines, potential catalysts, milestones, that sort of stuff?
Good question. So look, we are really focused on exploration, and you'll see we've already completed one drill program in our Atlantic project in March. We're drilling our Canary project right now. Assays from Atlantic will start coming out in a few weeks. The Canary initial results will start coming out in a few weeks, and those assays a couple months later. And then we're going to our Sundog project, drilling that one in July. Anticipate news flow throughout that. We also do a lot of corporate videos from site. I was up at the Canary project a few weeks ago shooting videos with our team there, taking the investors to our site so they can see what we're actually doing, where the money's being spent. And we'll do the same thing with our Sundog project. And then as we get into end of the summer, our Davidson River project. So lots of catalysts coming up. And we also are continuing to advance two of our earlier stage projects, our Corvo and Rocus. We want to get those ready for JV partners for 2025. So we've got so much stuff going on now corporately for Standard Uranium, with projects being drilled and projects being advanced. It's pretty exciting for us, and lots of opportunities for shareholders to make money with the drilling discovery. And that's the whole plan: make a high grade uranium discovery and really set the share price off exponentially.
Well, John, thanks very much for hopping on here today, and hopefully you'll keep coming back on here, especially after you go and make that discovery. You'll still take time for us little people and have time to explain the results.
Hey, thank you very much for hearing our story and give us the opportunity to speak to your listeners. And we look forward to coming back and sharing our success with you in the future.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, please smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Also, let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks, everyone.